Welcome to the Season 25 Schedule Release Show. Along with Mike St. Green, I'm Cameron Irvine. It is our 10th consecutive, I believe, Schedule Release Show. And I just am happy to be here with my co-host, Mike St. Green. How you been, Mike? Enjoying the off-season?
Enjoying the off-season, Cam. Look, ever since the championship game, man, I've kicked my feet up, gotten away for a little bit, and waited on the free agency show, which was excellent. And I couldn't wait to get back into the booth, man, with you. As you mentioned, 10 seasons, man. It's been a great run. And I think we've done this thing about, as many different times of the day and days of the week that you could possibly do it. I can remember a show, I want to say midweek live on a streaming service. And now here we are, 10 seasons later. Now we're prime time up Saturday night. We're going to run past my bedtime a little bit, but I'll see if I can stay awake for you guys.
And it's our 7th consecutive season with over 600 players in the SFL. We just crossed that threshold earlier today as players continue to sign and we continue to get rosters finalized. So we had some teasers earlier today. We know that Arizona is taking on Mexico City to start season 25. And Mike, not only was Arizona one of the few teams to beat Mexico City last season, not only is it Mexico City raising the championship banner, but the championship trophy will be at convention in front of Eddie Gage and the rest of the Arizona Scorpions with Mexico City's name on it. We'll also be tracking heart rates as well on the convention floor with Eddie Gage and Mike Daggs. It should be a great scene and a great start to season 25.
But first of all, you said checking heart rates. Eddie should always be hooked up to an EKG machine or something during any game that they play. But I know the convention is going to be extra intense for Eddie and Mike being there in the same room with the championship trophy, as you mentioned. And then one thing you just reminded me of, 3 things are very common with the schedule release show: death, taxes, and Arizona's always going to have the toughest schedule in SFL history.
Well, I don't know that they have the toughest schedule in SFL history after they finished 4th in the Pacific Division last year. The Pacific Division, kind of a surprise with Washington coming out of nowhere. Vancouver had one of their best seasons in franchise history. Sin City was also very good. So we'll see what the Pacific gives us later on in the show. But let's.
And before we get started too far, Cam, I do have to, small editorial, man, just congratulations on 25 seasons of the SFL, man. The guys were talking about it. A few guys were talking about it and mentioned, the sentimental things and during the free agency show. Harish, Eddie, a couple of guys mentioned that, man. I really appreciate this league and what, it has done for me personally. I've made friends in this league. Chad Rowland, I can mention, Johnny Pickler. These are guys that have been in my home, spent time with. Eddie Gage, Damon Simeon. These guys have been in my home for non-SFL events. So it's just been a cool experience for me, getting to know so many people around this community. And, man, we owe it all to you, man. Congratulations on 25 great seasons. I don't know what you expected this to be when you got started, but you created a great thing here.
I appreciate that, Mike, and it's really exciting to kind of reach this threshold and be able to say that we made it here. Not many leagues ever online have ever been able to say that, of any kind, any sport, anything like that. So it's a lot of fun, and can't wait to see what this league has in store for us in season 25. And we were talking in pregame about how the contraction of 2 teams has left all of these rosters looking a lot better than they were last season. There's not really any cupcakes on any schedule anymore, and that makes breaking down the schedule release show an even tougher challenge.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt, Cam, it's coming down now about not necessarily the traditional teams, the traditional powers that have been great in this league. Now it's going to come down to roster construction and maybe game planning and scouting is probably going to come more into play than any season we've seen in a quite a long time.
$5 super chat from Jacob Clear, getting the super chat train started. The Yayo Montana has started. CHS up first. So Charleston will be our first team schedule that we break down. But first we got to get to the opening week, the convention week, and we're excited to talk about it here. Here is the SFL convention schedule. Let's start on Friday with the Wilson Kickoff Show with Gerald Smith and Matt Wilson in the house. Arizona at Mexico City is your first game at 5 o'clock. Then we have our dinner, our 25th anniversary movie. We're just going to be taking a bunch of clips from the last 25 seasons and just kind of throwing them all in there, maybe segmenting them out into championship moments or, just funny moments and things that have happened, and just kind of see what makes the reel while we all get to eat and be merry. The 3-on-3 basketball draft. Who's going to be my teammates, Mike St. Green? I have to know. 8:30 p.m., Denver at Sin City, a revitalization of Vice Wars. The Denver coaching staff will be in attendance. I know Sin City will have representation. The Nightwings and the Samurai, two of the best teams out west at 8:30. Let's just break down that first night on Friday with Arizona, Mexico City, and then Denver, Sin City after that.
Yeah, and it's good to have Vice Wars back, Cam, especially since we lost the Minnesota and Indianapolis rivalry. That was really one of the most intense rivalries in this league over the past few seasons. But it's good to have another one. It's Detroit, but it won't resonate the same with me with it being in a different city than Indianapolis. But I'm pretty sure it can get pretty intense. With Detroit, we'll see how that plays out over the next few weeks and next few seasons. But it's good to have the original Vice Wars rivalry back with Denver and Sin City.
Now, Saturday at 9 a.m., we've got paper football tournament, the 3-on-3 basketball tournament, some pool time. It's all up on the very top floor of the Hyatt Regency in Baltimore. Hopefully we got great weather. It should be a great time. At 12 p.m., Detroit plays in their first game since relocating from Indianapolis. They will be at Queen City. At 2 p.m., D.C. at Carolina. This Carolina Skyhawks faithful, always fun, always a good time as they take on the Dragons opening weekend. 4 p.m., Quad Box Bingo. You say, well, what is all that about? It's new to the SFL convention. We'll have 4 games simultaneous. Fort Worth, Albuquerque, Florida, Bossier City, Los Angeles, Charleston, Vancouver, Baltimore. In the other league on this channel, we play bingo during games, during a triple box broadcast, and the winners get attribute boosts. Well, in the SFL at convention, playing alongside bingo on the convention floor, if you win a bingo, you'll get money in your bank as well. So some fun stuff going on at convention with those 4 games running simultaneous at 4, and I will be calling them all live in Baltimore, so that should be a lot of fun. At 6 p.m., we've got dinner, we've got Hall of Fame, we've got the auction, and then we've got our flag football draft for the game later on in the day. And then at 8 p.m., Mike St. Green, it is the rematch of Mike O'Neill's nose and Mickey Malillo's Sasquatch mask. Minnesota takes on Chicago, and we'll have to make sure that we have security present for that ball game. A full slate on Saturday of 7 total games. What stands out to you on Convention Saturday?
Well, being that you reminded me of that incident, Cam, I'm pretty sure Mike O'Neill will be seated far away from Mickey Malillo doing that game if they happen to be in the same room. He's probably going to be in the same room with him watching that game. He'll probably watch it on his phone or laptop or something to stay clear of any physical contact. But yeah, a great lineup, and in that quad box, that one game that caught my eye was Vancouver and Baltimore. Vancouver obviously lost in the championship game. Unfortunately for them, a lot of turnovers in that game hurt them and pretty much sealed the deal for them winning the championship against a 5-time champion Baltimore. That game really stands out to me in that Saturday block.
Now, for those that don't know how the format works, all 4 of those individual games will be in their own live windows on the Virtual Football Network, and then we will also have a quad box telecast with all those games going at one time. So you'll still be able to catch your individual game on its own. On Sunday, we've got the 3rd annual flag football game at 1 o'clock. Houston takes on Washington in a battle of playoff teams. And at 3 p.m., it's one of the newest rivalries in the league. They played a great game last season. Pittsburgh at Lexington, two former minor league teams squaring off. No longer in the same division, as Lexington seems to be moving all over the place. They're perfectly centered in the United States, where they just get moved around with all of this realignment, but still keeping that tradition alive. Should be a great Sunday. Houston, Washington, two of the best teams from last season. Should be an excellent rematch.
Yeah, a great game we had with Washington last season. Houston has, great offense, defense. It plays, they play aggressively and get after you as well. Washington, a great defense, pretty much a step away from making the championship game in their first season in Washington. That should be a great match with them in that first weekend. And as you mentioned, Pittsburgh and Lexington, two teams. Pittsburgh on the way up. They're looking to finally make some noise in this league and have a above 500 season. And Lexington, the quintessential up and down team in this league. We never know what to expect from them. And I know they're hoping to look in the bounce back after a non-playoff season last year. And it should be a great matchup to start the week off as well.
We've got a new flag supplier, new flag designs. We're also planning on some new apparel. SFL-related apparel coming to a store later this year before the holidays. And if you've ever wanted I want it to hurt shirt or any kind of, phrases from that have been coined throughout the years across the league to celebrate the SFL's 25th anniversary season, we'll have some of that coming up later in the year, an announcement on that. Pending. But that is the opening weekend. We are very much looking forward to SFL Convention. There's so much more that'll be happening. A lot of people getting in on Thursday. Thursday's usually a day where everybody just gets to enjoy each other's company, enjoy the scenery, the sights and sounds. Being right there on the water in Baltimore should be a lot of fun. So that is a look at the at opening week and opening weekend of the SFL Convention. Any final thoughts on that one, Mike, before we move on?
Yeah, one game I didn't comment on was the Arizona-Mexico City game. That should be a great opening game. Tough matchup for Mexico City, coming out to trying to defend their crown for the third time. But Arizona, they look like they may change some things up on offense. I see where they've signed 4 wide receivers to that roster. So it's going to be interesting to see what Arizona is going to look like coming out this upcoming season. And Mexico City, they found out how hard it is to defend the championship this past season, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be up to the task.
Now, we got a bidding war going on in the chat. Huge shout out to Mickey Malillo, $50. Let's get legendary Minnesota first. And I know I told Jacob that Charleston would be first, but, I mean, come on, man. $50 for Mickey Malillo, that is outstanding. Appreciate that. Ray Colston with $20 in the chat. Carolina must go first, but unfortunately, Mickey Malillo has you beat at the moment. All right, so let's get to Friday because we got a new spot. Look at this logo. What a nice logo. The Matt Wilson SFL kickoff show with the W, the 2 microphones for Mike and Gerald. They got it going on. They start every week in the SFL, and their show has become a staple around here, and we're excited to have them back on Friday nights and sometimes Saturday as the season goes along. But you look at their slate, week 2, Washington at Albuquerque, 2 of the best teams out west there. Week 4, Baltimore, Carolina, doesn't get much better than that. Week 5, an incorrectly spelled Minnesota at Florida. Week 7, an incorrectly spelled Vancouver at Houston. You could tell this was like my 30th graphic in 4 hours. Week 7, Vancouver at Houston. Week 8, Denver at Washington. Week 10, Minnesota at Washington. Washington's got a tough slate. And then you get to the flex portion of the schedule. Arizona at Sin City, Week 11. Fort Worth at Chicago, Week 13. Pittsburgh at Arizona, Week 14. And then Florida at Denver, as of now, your Week 15 Friday game. Of course, all Week 15 games have the ability to be flexed. But that is a look at some of the top games, some of the best matchups on Friday this season. Which ones stand out to you, Mike?
Well, it looks like if you're a fan of the Washington Triton, tune in on Friday nights because you're going to see them a lot of games on a Friday night so far this season. But yeah, that first one really catches my eye. Cam, Washington at Albuquerque. That should be a great matchup. Two excellent teams going up head up against one another in that second week of the season. And scanning down a little bit, Vancouver and Houston at Houston, that should be a great ball game as well. I'm really curious to see how Vancouver is going to look this season, with a few departures after their championship run, but they seem to replace some of those players nicely. So we'll see how they recover and respond to that this coming season. Arizona and Sin City, that's a divisional matchup out there in Week 11. So yeah, some great matchups on Friday night, and I'm more than sure Mike and Gerald will do a great job covering all these ball games.
For week 2, apparently, as I'm getting breaking news here, Ramos Lynn will be in studio along with Mike Daggs and Gerald Smith. I think that's a 3-man booth opportunity with Washington and Albuquerque. Of course, he'll be there in week 1 as well. And that's one of the most exciting parts of the convention. Ramos Lynn coming over from Mexico. It's always a treat when people internationally are able to travel to the convention. It's really exciting stuff. Also pointed out, good eye in the chat, week 14, Pittsburgh and Arizona. That's Doug Day versus T to Queen. They both went their separate ways to 2 different franchises this season. Doug Day in Pittsburgh, T to Queen in Arizona, and they will square off late in the season in week 14. We're hoping that game will have some sort of playoff implications, and there's a lot of optimism around Pittsburgh taking just another leap forward this year.
Yeah, they've made some adjustments to that roster, as you mentioned. Doug Day coming over. They made a couple other signings to that team. Doug Britton coming over at a wide receiver spot. That should improve that receiving core even more than what it has been over the past couple of seasons. To give Ace Finnick another target to look for in that offense. So. No other year, no other season. This has to be the season that Pittsburgh finally takes a step forward with this, with that new franchise.
So that's a look at the Matt Wilson SFL kickoff show and SFL Friday night football action. Let's get to the Monday night spectacular. You know what it's about. Me and you at SFL this week, and then Charles Doherty and I calling more spectacular SFL matchups. Week 2, Pittsburgh at Detroit. That is the Detroit Maulers' first home game as a franchise, as they are on the road in Queen City in week 1. Week 4, Denver at Mexico City. If you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And Denver took a huge leap forward last season, and they will get the defending champs in week number 4. Week 5, Houston at Albuquerque. Josh Slapp playing his former team after leaving the franchise earlier this season. Week 7, Baltimore at DC. That rivalry never disappoints. The uniforms are always on point, and the battles up in the north are even better. Week 8, a Labor Day doubleheader. We'll get started early at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Bossier City at Houston, and Florida and Carolina follows. So me and you, a little bit of an early start that day. Hopefully, as long as you're not on some cruise, you should have the day off and everything should be fine. Mexico City at Vancouver, week 9. That's a championship rematch as Vancouver gets to welcome in the defending champs. Then Charleston at Arizona. That's Greg Soto's return to Arizona, an unceremonious exit for Soto and his era in Scorpion Country. On the flex side of the schedule, Florida at Queen City in week 11. That's a battle of 2 rookie quarterbacks in that ball game. Florida's starting Isaac Covert as Ron Cochran is retired. Silas Christensen starting in Queen City. So who knows where those 2 franchises are going to be, but it should be an interesting matchup there. Week 12, Fort Worth at Mexico City. It's always good when you got 2 teams in the South playing in prime time. Denver at Minnesota, week 13. That is the second of 2 matchups. As the divisions with 4 teams, you play one opponent twice based on where you finished the previous season. So Denver and Minnesota is a big-time matchup there in week 13. Washington at Baltimore, the 2 teams that lost in the semifinals taking on each other late in the season. And then Sin City at Carolina. It came down to the wire with both of those teams last season. And we expect nothing different late in the season. So that is your Monday Night Spectacular schedule. A lot to break down there, Mike, but what stands out?
Well, first of all, Cam, since you brought it up, my biannual voyage to the sea will be August the 4th this season. So we'll see what happens on that Monday. But it'll be August 2nd through the 9th. So that'll mean we won't be here on the 4th. But man, the rematch, this championship game rematch, week 9, why that has to stand out. Vancouver hosting Washington. They were kind of in a, if I'm not mistaken, they were in a home team capacity in the championship game. Unfortunately, man, they could not cash in a lot of red zone opportunities. 4 turnovers in that game helped Mexico City secure the second championship. But I'll be looking forward to seeing what that matchup, that rematch will look like. And yeah, that Florida Queen City is going to be interesting just from the standpoint of what's Florida going to look like without Ron Cochran? He's been around was around for a long time. As far as I know, the only quarterback that franchise ever had, and it's going to be interesting to see what Florida does with a rookie quarterback, and as well as Queen City, they're going to be having a first-time starter as well. Pittsburgh, Detroit, as you mentioned, week 2. Pittsburgh seems to be getting a lot of primetime schedule love here early on, Cam. We're going to see if they can come out, improve themselves early in this season. Houston at Albuquerque, that was a great matchup last season. Houston going to Albuquerque again. Albuquerque always tough at home to beat those guys. And Josh Slapp, man, that's look. No doubt about it. He's, in my opinion, the best running back in the league. 1A, 1B with Colin Hart, in my opinion. But I give Josh Slapp a slight lean there. So it's going to be a challenge for this Houston defense to try to stop him in week 5. But that should be a great matchup as well. Baltimore, D.C., the battle of the D.C. area is always entertaining, as you mentioned. So, man, great Monday night matchups, and looking forward to being there with you every Monday night, Cam, except for one.
$10 super chat from Justin Reside. Queen City is all gas, no brakes to improve on 6-6 last season. And I got a Special Olympics gold medal in softball last weekend. So Mexico City not the only ones with a championship. Hashtag raise the Jolly Roger as Queen City has themselves in the queue. All right, so we've gone over Friday, we've gone over Monday, we've gone over opening week, so now it's time to get to the teams. We start with Mickey Malillo's Minnesota Legend. Thanks to the $50 super chat, Mickey. We appreciate you very much. Here we go, Minnesota. They start with Chicago at the convention, of course, and then they host Oklahoma City and host Queen City. You know, that's the Renegades' first game on the road at Minnesota because Oklahoma City got the week 1 bye. So tough draw there for the Renegades as Minnesota looks to start their home slate fresh at Florida, at Denver versus Fort Worth there in August. A difficult challenge there. And then later on in the schedule down the stretch at Washington. But then at least the last 3 of those are at home. Baltimore, Denver, Vancouver. All these schedules are going to be challenging. All these schedules are going to have their pitfalls. But what do you think overall of how it shaped out for Minnesota?
Well, we kind of deceived the people, Cam, looking at this first schedule. And we did say, it's going to be not many cupcakes going in, but far as this season goes, based on what last season was, Minnesota, they're going to ease into this schedule up until about week 5. And Queen City was improved. No disrespect to anybody, whatever. But Chicago, they struggled last season. I'm curious to see how they're going to bounce back. Obviously, Oklahoma City didn't win a game last season. Queen City 6-6 didn't make the playoffs. Florida didn't make the playoffs, and they're breaking in a new QB rookie quarterback. So, yeah, Minnesota, you pretty much. Have a big advantage, at least the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season that you could hopefully you can take advantage of.
Yeah, I think Minnesota, what stands out to me is that start of the schedule. Minnesota gets Chicago, Oklahoma City, Queen City. I'm not saying that's easy, but that's about as easy as it gets in the SFL in season 25. Then you get Florida early. You don't get them late when they start to figure it out with a new quarterback. You get them early. And then that Denver matchup in their 5th game, technically week 7, coming off of a bye, right? So they got 2 weeks to prepare for Denver. But if they lose that game, they play them again on October the 13th. And so for Minnesota, they got an opportunity to get off to a hot start here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. As I mentioned, based on what we've seen in the past, it's definitely going to be it's about as easy as you can get, as you mentioned, in this league. With everything condensing down, it's no walkovers in this league. Teams are improving. Teams are game planning right now as we speak to see how they can improve this upcoming season. But, you know, Minnesota, experienced team, been a traditional playoff team since they've been in this league. So it's just, favorable matchups, let's just say, for Minnesota to start the season.
I'm going to try again, Mike, to explain the schedule format to the chat. The chat's having a little bit of trouble. Maybe it's been a long weekend already in there. But, okay, let's get back to why Minnesota and Denver might be playing twice. The Central Division and the East Division only have 4 teams with the contraction. So those teams in those divisions will play one of their division opponents twice based on how they finished last season. So Minnesota and Denver play twice. Chicago and Oklahoma City play twice. Florida and Carolina play twice. And Lexington and Charleston play twice. So just so nobody else is looking for it in the other divisions, that's what's going on there. But that's a look at Minnesota's schedule. Okay, let's go to Carolina because Ray was at the second highest super chat so far tonight. So let's go to the Carolina Skyhawks schedule. And it looks like this. Hosting D.C. to start, then they go to Pittsburgh. The Baltimore game Friday in prime time. Denver, Queen City, Florida. They do get Baltimore at home, Florida at home, but tough stretch. At Washington, at Mexico City. They do get a bye before the Aztecs there in September. And then the last couple of games, or the last few games, the Charleston rivalry, which Charleston always brings their A game when they play Carolina. That game means a lot for both of those teams. And then at Florida and versus Sin City, of course, Florida twice on the schedule there. They get them on the road late in the season, which is the tougher task. What do you think of Carolina's outlook?
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about, Cam. No easy pickings here. You can't really pick out and say, hey, we have a off week this week, so to speak. But as you mentioned, the T-shirts, and did you ever want a T-shirt with a slogan on it? Any given sim day, anything can happen in this league. We know that, and so no easy pickings here. So, but what I do want to comment about Carolina, I think they did an excellent job in free agency. Bringing back Rochelle Colston, bringing back Ike McBride, and I was really happy to see them pick up Bryant Dynasty. I was wondering where Bryant was going to end up. Some people speculating that he may retire, but all along, even weeks before I heard about the free agency signing, I was thinking to myself, Carolina would be an excellent spot for him to end up. I always, root for Bryant, known him since pretty much day one in the league, and hopefully he's able to bounce back and revitalize his career with the Skyhawks.
For as great that Carolina is with retention, this is their third starting quarterback in 3 seasons. It's almost kind of like a place where aging veterans, they just have to go there one season just to see what it's like, right? But one day Carolina is going to find some consistency at quarterback, and maybe Bryant Dynasty will stay. Maybe maybe he finds a new home there, and like you said, revitalizes his career. Carolina has byes week 2, 6, and 10. All teams have byes that are pretty spread out over the course of the season, and it must be said that the weekend of September 8th, there are no SFL games. I have been contracted to do work out of state for other events, so I will not be around. So everybody gets an extra buy in there and gets a chance to recharge. That's also opening weekend of the NFL season, so you don't have to worry about watching one league and not being able to watch the other and all that good stuff. So if you're seeing that missing from people's schedules, and you start to notice that is a trend, that is the reason. All right, let's get to, we got to get to a couple of super chats. $5 super chat from Mark Lopez. It feels like season 24 just ended yesterday. When the heck did it become 2 weeks away from season 25? And that almost gave me hives, Mike, because I thought 2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks until playbooks are due, but not 2 weeks for me, thankfully. Mike Daggs, $12.83. Can't wait to see everyone heading to the convention in less than a month. Will be awesome spending time with all the Mexico City peeps making the trip. Let's see that Mexico City schedule. Hashtag Aztec Empire. Hashtag 12 forever. Mike O'Neill. Bumping Dags saying, not so fast. $25 super chat. Chicago, let's go. We got a hell of a locker room right now. Bring on season 25. Almost. Los Angeles, $20 super chat. Moving in silence can be beneficial. Hashtag change the narrative. Hashtag howl at the moon. Hashtag LYC Angeles. Hashtag new moon. Okay, wow. We got a lot to get to. But Chicago is first, thanks to Mike O'Neill. And this Chicago team is fascinating, Mike, because they have no running back. Obviously, they are going all the way in on this type attack scrambling stuff. I think the question is, are they going to have the personnel to execute the vision of this team? But they should be certainly exciting. And they start with Minnesota before a couple of tough road games at DC and at Vancouver. That middle of the schedule looks okay for Chicago. Bossier City, Detroit, OKC, LA. Before they hit the road for a couple of weeks. They end with 3 straight home games. Sin City, Fort Worth, Oklahoma City. Not a bad draw for the Warriors, especially with how the home and road games shook out for them.
Yeah, not a bad draw for them. And we mentioned in the what are they going to look like without a contracted running back on this squad? Maybe something can shake. Between now and week 2, when I would assume would be eligible to sign another running back. I don't know what this cap space looks like right now, of course, but going to be interesting to see how that works out. And as you mentioned, probably going all in with type attack and a passing attack over there in Chicago. But start off a little tough, eases up towards the middle, and towards the end. I don't know what Fort Worth is going to look like this season, but Oklahoma City, the final week of the season, that doesn't hurt as well.
Yeah, I think Chicago gets the break there, getting Oklahoma City twice. No offense to the Renegades, but they do technically still have the smallest roster in the SFL. It does look improved, and we'll see what they can do with it. And there's still time to sign players, so you never know how this is all going to end up. Who knows? Maybe Chicago's got a running back in their back pocket. We don't even know what we're talking about. But an interesting schedule for Chicago, no doubt about that. All right, let's go next to Los Angeles, where Sully Richardson is trying to get this crew back to winning ways. It's going to be a very interesting season for LA. They're playing, a last place schedule in the Pacific, and we'll see what they can do with it. They start on the road at Charleston, then they host Florida, Arizona, Vancouver, Sin City. Real tough August there for Los Angeles, but the schedule does lighten up again. For all those out there that have never seen the schedule release before, we're just going off of last season's records. We really don't have any idea what we're talking about. But Lexington, Chicago, Pittsburgh, they're in the middle of the schedule in late August, early September. And then they finish with OKC, Detroit, and DC, 3 teams that did not make the playoffs last season. What do you think of the Lycan schedule and outlook this season?
Well, Sully asked me to not give up on him during the free agency show, Cam. He wants me to keep believing. Well, Sully, I'm going to keep believing until you give me a reason not to believe, and that's usually probably about midway through the season. But no, LA, they're kind of starting off relatively, calmly. 3 non-playoff teams to start this season. We expect a couple of these teams to be improved, of course, but 3 non-playoff teams to start the season. So you get an opportunity to make some noise early on. Then you got the a championship game runner-up. Then you have the semifinals in Sin City. So yeah, it's going to kind of toughen up towards the middle, but. It's some winnable games in there, and reasons to prove me wrong and keep me believing in you guys.
LA's lost to Vancouver 8 straight times, so that is obviously their toughest game on the schedule, I would say, right? But other than that, it's kind of funny when you look at the schedule and you say Florida and Arizona are not playoff teams. It's so bizarre to see that and look at the schedule, but. Mike, you got to play somebody. You got 12 games on the schedule, and there's just not a lot of teams that are consistently not playoff caliber in the league anymore. So everything is going to be tough. That is Los Angeles's outlook. They have a nice spread of buys as well, 3, 6, and 10. $15 super chat from Chris Delro, Detroit. Let's check out this fresh-looking franchise. I was just about to go to Mexico City, and again, Mike Daggs got sniped. No favoritism here. Just because you do a show on this channel doesn't mean that you get to see your schedule in the first 45 minutes. Let's look at Detroit. The Detroit Maulers, the newest brand in the UFL, or in the in the SFL. And I got to say, Mike, it looks great. Detroit, yeah. I think they did a great job on this. I've gotten a sneak peek at the uniforms of the Detroit Maulers. They look excellent, and it's really coming together well. Hoping to see them maybe have some more success on the field, because it's been a lot of 3 wins here recently for the former Indianapolis Ramblers, now Detroit Maulers. They get Queen City, Pittsburgh, Oklahoma City, Lexington, Chicago to start. 5 straight teams that did not make the playoffs last season. It gets a little tougher down the stretch. Fort Worth, Minnesota, Albuquerque's in there. Baltimore ends the season. D.C. is always a threat. So Detroit definitely should probably try to make their hay in the early part of this season, because it does get a lot more rigorous down the stretch.
Yeah, Vegas out of the league for one season, then Sin City brings them back. Detroit out of the league for one season, right. And then Indianapolis brings them back.
Can't stay
now
away.
The question is, when is someone going to bring St. Louis back? That's what I want to know. I had an affinity for the St. Louis Gladiators from seasons ago. But and you mentioned these uniforms, man. I'm looking forward to seeing that. You know me, the king of uniform hunks, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the Detroit Maulers fit looks like. But getting to the schedule here, as you mentioned, it's pretty mild coming out of the gate for Detroit. Queen City, Pittsburgh, Oklahoma City, Lexington, Chicago. Man, that's 5 straight non-playoff teams, so they're going to have an opportunity as well to make some noise and put their name in the hat as an early playoff contender if they can navigate that first 5 games of the season.
999 super chat from Robert Henson. It's a new era in Detroit. Hashtag fight feral. Hashtag bite back. The hashtags are rolling in today on the channel. What's your hashtag, Mike?
Kick ass. Hashtag kick ass.
I thought it was going to be hashtag never lost, but that's fine. That one works too. All right, let's take a look at the defending champs schedule. We got 86 viewers right now. Thanks everybody for watching and participating along with us. Mexico City, bye weeks in 2, 5, 10. This is what a defending champions schedule looks like. They start with Arizona, then at Baltimore. They host Denver on Monday night. At division rival Bossier City, at Florida, Albuquerque, Vancouver, Carolina, Fort Worth, Sin City, Lexington, and then they end with a nemesis, Houston, which often takes Mexico City out. That is a huge game in Week 15. But, man, that stretch from August 29th to October 11th, that is the meat and potatoes right there, the defending champion or the championship rematch, and Fort Worth and Albuquerque. A lot of teams that give Mexico City problems.
Yeah, and here's the drawback to playing a championship schedule is, that you get the tough opponents in your non-division matchups, but then they get a double whammy by playing in the toughest division in the SFL right now. You have 4 of the playoff teams that you have to run the gauntlet through just on your regular schedule. Man, it's going to be tough for Mexico City, but if anybody can pull this off and make another run towards the championship, it will be the Aztecs. Most of that roster is back, far as I could tell. Man, starting off with Arizona, perennial playoff team, perennial championship contender, but definitely one of the most respected franchises in this league. Semifinal rematch with Baltimore. Denver, made noise last season, getting back into the playoff hunt. Bossier City competed for the division championship, made the playoffs. Florida, we know their history, but that's probably right now, as we look at their roster, is going to be probably the easiest game coming out of the chute for Mexico City, and then they finish strong with 5 out of the next 6 teams they're going to face are going to be playoff teams.
Saron Yates is in the chat, and I was talking with someone the other day. It may have been Dags, but I was saying that Suron Yates won 4 titles in Baltimore, and then he came over and he won another one in Mexico City. There's not a lot of players in league history that have as many rings as Suron Yates, and there might not be anybody that has more rings than Suron Yates when you really think about it. So, I mean, it's difficult to get one, and that dude just keeps stacking them over and over and over again. So just huge shout outs to Suron Yates, and hopefully we get to see him at a convention one day.
I'm trying to get him signed in Houston, Cam, and maybe that'll be our way of finally making it to a championship game at least. Because, like as you mentioned, this guy, he more than likely, if just looking at it and thinking on it, the 5 that he has, well, 6, the 6 that he has probably is more than any one individual in this league.
Yeah, I think he might be the ticket. He might be the secret weapon. So if anybody wants Mexico City to stop winning championships, just go get Suron Yates. 5 in Baltimore, 1 in Mexico City. What an amazing career for Suron Yates. Definitely a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. But yeah, Mexico City's got him back and many others as well. Okay, poor Jacob Clear. Let's get to the Charleston Predators. Poor guy. I just lied to his face about 35 minutes ago, and here we are. Charleston schedules their bye week. You can't get better than their bye schedule. 4-8-12. It's just about as perfect as you can get for Charleston. They start with 2 home games, Los Angeles and Bossier City. In fact, 3 of their first 4 are at home. Their 1 road test is at Florida, Pittsburgh, D.C., Oklahoma City, Lexington, Arizona, Chicago, Carolina, Fort Worth, and then a rematch with the Miners. I would say that stretch in October, Carolina, Fort Worth, that's really difficult. And we know that Charleston is often kind of on that playoff bubble. What they don't want to be is in that 4-6, 5-5 range, coming down the stretch, coming down the wire. They got to stack some wins early because it does get a little dicey down the stretch.
Yeah, it's no other pressure being a part of the SFL than looking at your record going into the final few weeks of the season, and you're right there in that iffy playoff area of whether you're going to finish 7-5 or 6-6, and in some cases it seems like 7-5 may not be good enough. But it's going to be interesting to see in Iman Kopech's second season as a starter with Charleston. As you know, they kind of struggled with him early last season, and I think that's why they got off to the type of start that they did, and until he kind of came around and got his footing under him, they started to play better towards the end of last season. And then this franchise is the king of turning wide receivers into running backs. So Montana's going to try his hand at the running back position, and we're going to see how it's going to pan out for them. But Charleston, as you mentioned, they're always solid. They're always right there around that 500 area. They're not, they're not going to come out and just destroy teams for the most part. They're not going to, be a walkover from week to week. They're always going to be competitive. So it's going to be interesting to see how Charleston responds to that non-playoff season last season and with the schedule that they have coming up for them in season 25.
Yeah, Charleston's an interesting team. They got Montana in the backfield now. Doug Spelling kind of becomes their new number 1 after Doug Britton left in free agency. They've got a stacked roster. They've always had a stacked roster. Now it's just about putting together wins. Let's go to Vancouver. Mark Lopez with the $5 super chat from earlier as we clear out our super chats here on the show. This is a look at Vancouver's schedule. They start tough at Baltimore, at Arizona. I mean, that is just 2 tough places to play, although they do get Arizona still maybe trying to figure some things out. But they also get a very hungry Arizona as well out to prove their worth after missing the playoffs last season. Really, really tough stretch. Of course, they're the champion runners-up. Look at that August 22nd through October 5th at Houston, at Sin City, hosting the defending champs, hosting Fort Worth, and then at Albuquerque is really brutal. And then even their last 2 games at Minnesota versus Washington. I mean, that is a tough stretch to end the season. Again, it feels like with a lot of these teams, got to stack some wins early because wins are going to be hard to come by late in the season.
Yeah, you're going to have to stack wins early. You're going to have to stack wins, it seems like, whenever you can get them. And as I mentioned earlier, I felt like Carolina did the best job in free agency as far as the number of just talented players and that they brought into that roster. I felt like Vancouver probably had one of the worst off seasons from the standpoint of retiring players and players departing. They did bring in a couple of key players. I thought I liked the signing of J.W. Doyle at the fullback spot. He did a great job in Houston last season. And the one interesting one that I think they signed was Kevin Brackett coming over from Sin City. He had kind of a down season last season from the previous Defensive Player of the Year season. Going to be interested to see if he can turn things around and get back to his sacking ways, so to speak, over in Vancouver. I think that's a good spot for him to probably get things turned around. But yeah, to look at this schedule, this is what you get when you're a championship runner-up and a division winner. I'm sorry, maybe not, maybe they didn't win that division. Maybe Washington won that division, but definitely as a championship runner-up. Yeah, it's tough middle part of that schedule for them to navigate, and if they want to get back to the championship game, finally hoisting a banner up there, they're going to have to do well in this middle part of the season to even make the playoffs, I think.
Eddie's noting in the chat that two of his first 3 games are against the teams that made the championship, and he says, what did he say? He said, no love for AZ from Cam once again. He says by week 2. No, you don't know what you're talking about. You do have a game week 2, but we just haven't gotten to your schedule yet. But it is very interesting to have to play Vancouver and Mexico City twice in a few weeks. But yeah, I mean, Devin Lloyd in Vancouver is right now their only running back in the backfield. Jalen Wells will be interesting. He was hot and cold for Queen City last season. They got J.W. Doyle in the backfield. It really is a totally reworked backfield. So we'll see how Vancouver responds to all that. Okay, last call for Super Chats before we get to the rapid fire schedules that we have not gone over. We thank everybody for supporting the channel. We missed Queen City. We missed Queen City's Super Chat. Let's get to the Queen City Corsairs schedule here in more depth before we get to the rapid fire. They start with Detroit. Then they're at Houston and Minnesota. That's a tough 2-game stretch there. Looking down the schedule a little bit, their last 4 games, hosting Florida, at Baltimore, at Sin City versus Fort Worth. A very challenging finish to Queen City's schedule. But they could make some hay in late August, early September, kind of in the middle there. But it's going to be interesting to see how Queen City does after losing Michael Brown, who was sensational last year. Silas Christensen, we don't know what he's got as a starter in this league, but it should be exciting. And if he's anything like what they got out of Michael Brown last season, Queen City could take another leap forward.
Yeah. Michael Brown was huge for what they did last season, getting to 6-6, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, bringing in a new starter, coming off of that season that they had, which was a bounce back from obviously the no-win season, and then to start this schedule off with, pretty much 4 out of the first 6 playoff teams that they're going to face in this first half of the season is going to be tough for Queen City, but can they improve again? It looks like they want to be a passing team with the personnel that they've signed for this team, but it's going to be tough on the first-year starter. But if anybody could pull it off, maybe this new regime over at Queen City can do the job.
People in the chat reacting to Queen City's difficulty in schedule, and I think Queen City's a perfect example. Typically when you're 6-6, your schedule might not be this tough, but we lost 2 non-playoff teams in the offseason, and so when you consider that, 12 out of 25 made the playoffs last year, so that's 13 non-playoff teams, but we lost 2 of them. So there's only 11, and 2 of them are Florida and Arizona. So, there's not a lot left to just kind of throw a bone to a team like Queen City, who missed the playoffs, had a successful season, but yeah, you gotta. It's a tough league out there.
It's definitely a tough league, Cameron. And as you scan the bottom of this screen and look at these teams and see these logos. As you mentioned, Florida and Arizona didn't make the playoffs, but we all are accustomed to seeing these two great franchises in the playoffs and competing for championships and are winning championships. So yeah, it's going to be a tough road for Queen City, but it's going to be a tough road for everyone. As we mentioned earlier in the show, and when we got kicked off, it's really hard to find a weak point in anyone's schedule. Somebody's going to have to eventually play some tough teams, and then guess what, man? You're going to be very sharpened. Iron sharpens iron, as they say. Teams are going to be sharpened on their game in the playoffs this season, and I can't wait. I think that's going to basically cause teams to, or force teams, so to speak, to really game plan hard, put the work in, and I think it's going to actually lead to better and more competitive gameplay.
And the good news, Mike, is this season with only 23 teams, we still have 12 playoff teams, so 6-6 is back on the table, right, to make the playoffs, and that hasn't necessarily been the case a lot in previous seasons. So, there might be a 6-6 team that has lost to 6 playoff teams from last season. You know what I mean? That still is a very good quality team that will have a chance to make the playoffs. All right, let's go rapid fire, and then we'll get out of here. Let's start with Arizona. The Scorpions do play Mexico City and Vancouver. 2 of those first 3 games. They also have Lexington in week 2 because their first bye is not until week 5. They are the lone team with a week 15 bye, and I'm looking down the stretch. Their 2 division road games at Sin City, at Washington, back-to-back week 13 and 14.
Yeah, that's going to be tough towards the end and tough towards the beginning. But yeah, Eddie, I know you have seen tougher schedules than this one on this show tonight. But as we mentioned, they are going to be tough. You're going to have to just step your game up and come up with some wins that maybe you don't anticipate getting. But yeah, if anybody could do that, I'm pretty sure Eddie Gage can figure out a way to do that. Probably except for Saturday, August 16th.
And they're going to be sick of that bright neon green, too, after playing Queen City and Albuquerque in back-to-back games. All right, let's take a look at Baltimore. The Baltimore Vultures start with the 2 teams that made the championship last season, Vancouver and Mexico City, but they do get both of them at home. They get Carolina and Albuquerque right after that road game in Raleigh. How about a 3-game road trip at Denver, at Minnesota, at Florida, and getting Florida late in the season, but they do end with 3 of their last 4 against teams that did not make the playoffs last season. What's your thoughts on Baltimore?
Well, Cam, to be honest with you, I was really surprised at the semifinal game that Baltimore lost. The way that they lost, and the margin of victory that Mexico City had against them last season. And the other interesting thing I think in this offseason this is going to be the first time I've seen Baltimore without the trio of Holder, Chima, and Irvin. It's going to be, and then they're going to replace that with Rego De Niro, and that's going to be interesting to see that for the first time, how that's going to play out on that receiving core that's been, pretty much been a staple of that franchise. But I said a couple of seasons ago, I thought at the end of season 23 that Baltimore were figuring things out in this 2K4 era, and they proved that, I think, last season by making it as far as they did. And I think Baltimore is going to be fine. They're going to be the Vultures that we've always seen. Tough stretch, as you mentioned, on the road there towards the end. But that seems, even though they're on the road, there's a couple of opponents that I think they can handle pretty well.
Daley Holder was the one that retired, Sir Ron Yates in the chat. And Baltimore's looking for that first championship in the 2K4 era, 4K23 era. So we'll see if they can get it and add another star onto that logo. Bossier City, let's take a look at the Steamers' schedule. They host Florida at Charleston versus Sin City to start. They end with two home games, D.C. and Albuquerque. Schedule's pretty spread out in terms of who they play and when they play them. Sin City, Mexico City, Houston, Fort Worth, Albuquerque. These are all playoff teams, but none of them are back-to-back.
Yeah, no back-to-back playoff teams, as you mentioned. They start off with a couple of teams that didn't make the playoffs, and then they throw Chicago in there between Sin City and Mexico City. So Bossier City is going to get an opportunity to start off pretty well if they can get things rolling. I saw what Johnny Pickler signed his contract earlier in the week, so they have him back in the fold. And I expect great things from Bossier City again this season. Playoff team, division contender, and they should do great in that South as they have the first couple of seasons over there.
How about let's see. We did Carolina, Chicago, Charleston. Let's go to the DC Dragons. The Dragons at Carolina to start the season, and then they have home games against Chicago and Washington. 3 straight road games to end the season is very unusual. At Vancouver, at Bossier City, at Los Angeles. So not necessarily a gauntlet, but DC's going to want to stack some home wins. Conversely, they've got 5 of 6 at home between July 20th and September 14th, the only road game at Queen City within their division. So certainly a unique schedule for the Dragons, but 4 of their last 5 teams on the schedule did not make the playoffs last season.
Yeah, they definitely want to take advantage of that early home-heavy schedule. 4 out of the last 5 against non-playoff teams, but 4 of the last 5 are on the road. Nothing's guaranteed on the road in this league. So stack them early, DC, at home. Take advantage of that home field and see what you can do to make hay towards the end of that schedule.
The Denver Nightwings, man, they won the division last season. They took a huge step forward. I promise you, this is not the toughest schedule in the league in terms of win-loss from last season, but the way it all shook out for Denver, man, it's tough. Sin City, Albuquerque, Mexico City, Carolina, Minnesota, Washington, Baltimore, their first 7 games before they get some reprieve down the stretch, but they got to take on Minnesota twice to retain that division crown. That's as tough of a start, including 3 of their first 4 on the road. That's a tough a start as any team in the league this season.
If winning games and making the playoffs means you have to play this type of schedule, I'm pretty sure Denver would take it. But I know part of them have to be second guessing that right now. Man, is winning worth it? But this is going to be one of the tougher schedules you're going to see in this league. When I previewed this earlier today, it was like, man, what a gauntlet the Night Wings going to have to run and maintain. But thing is, teams are going to have to game plan and worry about Denver now because they had a great season last season, Cam. For it to be their first season pretty much turning things around in a while. This is a traditionally winning franchise. This franchise has championships under their belt, and so they know how to win. They know how to play tough games against good opponents, and I think that's going to be a challenge for them, but I think they're going to be able to answer the call.
Everybody in the chat saying that I hate Pirates or I hate Birds or I hate Denver. I hate all of you. Just kidding. Let's go to the Florida Storm next. The Storm start with 2 road games in a row at Bossier City and Los Angeles before they come home to host Charleston and Minnesota. They also get the defending champs at home. Baltimore, Carolina, Denver. Last 3 games. Now, the good thing for Florida is that they usually get better as the season goes along, and so they're going to be taking on some of the best teams late down the stretch of the season. Florida typically not a schedule that would be this quote unquote easy, but Florida had a down year last year, and Ron Cochran retired. We just don't know what we're going to get out of the Storm, and we'll see how they tackle this schedule in season 25.
Yeah, Cam, this is the one franchise, the winningest franchise in league history that I never thought we'd have multiple question marks behind as to what they're going to be, and mainly it's because of the quarterback position and that they didn't make the playoffs last season. So huge question marks about what this team is going to be. But if anybody can figure it out, it has to be the Florida Storm. So, and as you mentioned, not just a gauntlet of teams back to back for this Florida squad. So, LA, Charleston, Lexington, all these teams are sprinkling in early. So if any, they have opportunity to break this new quarterback in and see what they can figure out. And hopefully we can see some new things from Florida, being that they having to go through a little changes. Hopefully we can see how they do things. And but like I said, if anybody can navigate this thing, it'll be them.
Fort Worth Toros start with back-to-back division games, week 1 and week 2, or check that, week 3, as they have a week 2 bye at Albuquerque. Then they get 2 weeks to prep for Houston. They follow that with home games against OKC, Washington, and Detroit. Yes, 4 straight home games between July 26th and August 23rd. They won't have to leave. But look at their 4 first road games: at Albuquerque, at Minnesota, at Vancouver, at Mexico City. You don't get a tougher road schedule than that if you're Fort Worth.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you're talking about another squad that was hit by retirements and things like that, and guys moving on. It was Fort Worth Toros. Only have a couple of wide receivers on the roster right now, if I'm not mistaken. But they do have the 2 horses still in the backfield, so they're going to be tough in the running game as they've been over the past few seasons. But yeah, 4 home games, and as part of the schedule in a row is going to help them out tremendously. But these guys, they know how to win. They've been perennial contenders for the championship ever since their inception into this league, and I expect nothing no different from them in season 25.
Your boys, the Houston Headhunters, start at Washington, then host Queen City in the home opener, at Fort Worth, at Albuquerque. So the 2 division road games back-to-back, although you'd have a bye to prepare for the Adams on the Monday Night Spectacular. Then you follow that up with 3 straight home games: Arizona, Vancouver, and Bossier. You finish with the defending champs. I'm sure you're going to say you're going 12-0, but what part of the schedule has you a little bit nervous?
Well, none of it, Cam. First of all, everybody's been waiting for this part of the show because they've been saying we want to know when we can tune in to see MSG play. So that's basically what everybody's been waiting on. I don't know why no one super chatted that, so they could have found out earlier, but we added to the suspense. But no game on here makes me nervous, Cam. Why should it? Mexico City, the defending champs at the end, we pretty much slap them around every season, but it's the South, man. We play great teams in the South season in, season out, and we start this off with a tremendous tough matchup with Washington at Washington. Again, we played them up there last season. It was a great matchup. Fort Worth, they always seem to have our numbers for whatever strange reason. Albuquerque is tough. They never lose at home. So man, it's going to be tough sledding, but I think we were one of the better teams last season offensively. The defense, they brought it all season long. So bring on the schedule and we'll play. Lay them out and see how it plays out.
I love when the chat gets after you. Fox Highwind says no one ever said that. And J.W. Hartshorn says, wait, who's MSG again? Just love that. The Lexington Miners, they host Pittsburgh and Arizona to start, then at Sin City. I would say that their tough stretch is between September 20th and October 18th. You have 3 of the three top teams in the South from last season: Albuquerque, Houston, Mexico City, and your new division opponent, Carolina, in there. So think about it. Their last 6 games are 3 division games and 3 games against the South.
Yeah, I looked at Lexington's roster earlier. I'm not sure who the running back. I know they have a running back over there at the halfback sign. I couldn't remember who that was, but a lot of their success is going to depend on what they can get out of the running game and see if they can get back to their winning ways as they did in season 23. But yeah, start the Pittsburgh game we talked about, Arizona, Sin City. They kind of get a break there towards the middle, but Lexington, man, it's going to be it's a kind of a hodgepodge here. Start off, relatively tough. Some winnable games in the middle, and then it gets kind of tough towards the end. So Lexington, if you're going to make it, get that running game together, and win some games that you probably on paper probably look like you won't win.
Ian Francis takes over for Phoenix Jones in that backfield. Deion James is back, and he was starting to turn it on there late in the season as well, stepping up for the loss of Phoenix Jones. The Oklahoma City Renegades start at Minnesota. That is a tough draw. Then they host Detroit. Remember, that's their one win from last season. They beat the Indianapolis Ramblers, and they get them in their home opener before going to Fort Worth. They've got Chicago twice on the schedule. A pretty tough stretch there with Queen City, Houston on the road, Bossier City shortly after that. Every game is going to be difficult for Oklahoma City as this team builds up this roster, but really interested to see what improvements they've made, because they showed some bright spots last season, Mike. They just often couldn't put it together for 4 straight quarters.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth, Cam. This team, they were extremely shorthanded last season, but now we see an improved roster. They brought back all of the Ramons, Cam. Thomas and Thomas Jr. and Thomasina and it may be another Ramen in there that I'm not seeing, but they brought them all back. They brought back, they signed some other players that have been around this league for a long time, but as what they did, though, they did achieve a lot with a very limited roster last season, but they have improved. They don't have a contracted kicker on this roster, but hey, that's the least of their concerns. They have filled in some roster spots, so I think they're going to be able to make some noise this season. Don't take these guys lightly. They made some improvements with a very shorthanded roster last season, and now they've gotten that roster pretty much filled out to a certain degree, and they're going to be competitive. I hope to see them more competitive this season than they were for the most part last season.
Well, we're 2 teams away from Sin City, so stay tuned. You're just in time. The Pittsburgh Riverhogs, I love their sharpened branding. They kind of made things pop a little more this offseason and added an alternate P mark. It looks really good. But Pittsburgh buys week 4, 7, and 12. They start with 2 road games, and then they host Carolina. So a very challenging July there for Pittsburgh, but they start to get some reprieve down the stretch. I tell you what, if Arizona is better, that's one of the toughest last 3 game stretches of any team, at Albuquerque, at Arizona versus Minnesota.
Look, this Pittsburgh offense has been great over the past couple of seasons. It's been the defense where they can't really shut down teams when they need to. That's been a problem. If they can improve this defense, Cam, look for Pittsburgh to finally take a step forward and compete for those playoffs. And as you mentioned, now that we've kind of condensing teams, and we remember when we were coming from this level a few seasons ago, from the 22, 23 team level. As you mentioned, 6-6 is in play, and in some cases 5-7. So just be in the hunt and win some games that and stack some wins somewhere and improve in certain areas. And Pittsburgh can be right there in the running.
The Sin City Samurais start with Denver on the convention floor Friday night, then Bossier City after that. 3 of their next 4 games, in fact, are on the road, including their 2 road divisional games at Washington and at Los Angeles. They finished the season with Mexico City and Carolina in 2 of their last 3 games. But I think all things considered, Mike, Sin City, kind of like Queen City, they dodged a bullet in the sense that they don't really have a brutally tough stretch. Everything's kind of spaced out for them. Their buys are spaced out, weeks 2, 6, and 10. And so, Sin City, I'm not going to say getting off easy, but it certainly could have ended up much worse for them. I would say that, that toughest stretch, the 3 out of the 4 on the road between August 10th and September 14th, 2 of those in the division.
Yeah, and that always helps out. And we get a what seemingly is a break in the schedule, or not a grinded out tough part of the schedule. And Sin City, moving from Canton the season prior, they kind of were feeling their way out with around with the new ownership group and things like that last season. But when they finally seemed like they got some things figured out, they became competitive and tough to game plan for and play last season. So I look for them to come out all guns blazing to start this season, and I think I want to look forward to them probably making a run for the championship as they did a couple of seasons ago.
And then finally, the Washington Trident. You take a look at what they did last season in the semifinals and what they could do this season. They start with Houston, Albuquerque, D.C., Cincinnati, Fort Worth, Denver, Carolina, Minnesota in the first 8. D.C. is the only team in that bunch that did not make the playoffs last season. And then L.A., Arizona, Baltimore, Minnesota down the stretch. Washington, like Denver and like some of these other teams that were just that close to a championship, It's going to be tough sledding as the defending champs of the Pacific.
Yeah, defending champs of the Pacific, and Cam, for whatever reason, they've captured me as to how great they were last season with everything that they did, branding wise, uniform wise, the way they played on the field. Defense was great, offense was efficient, and they were just a tough all around team. And all of a sudden now they went from Motor City to being this seem like perennial power team right now in just one season, and I'm looking forward to see if they can put together back-to-back seasons. It's going to start off tough with them at Houston, Albuquerque, and Detroit. At home for Houston, but at Albuquerque, then home at DC. Going to be a tough start for them to see if they can pull off what they did last season. But if any team can right now, I feel like Washington can do that.
And that is a look at all of the team schedules in the league. Now, all these graphics in their highest quality, I'm sure some of you were screenshotting throughout the show, but in their highest quality will be uploaded to the website as soon as the show is over. Plus, the whole schedule will be on the website to view as well as we wrap things up. But we are so excited about Season 25. We're so excited to have all of you back here on the Virtual Football Network, and it's going to be another great season of SFL football. Your final thoughts, Mike, on this schedule release?
I mean, just great to see the schedule finally come out, because that means we're just that much closer to seeing the season get started. And as I mentioned earlier, man, it's great to be back here again for a 10th consecutive season with you doing this show. It's always a pleasure. Looking forward to this season to start. And man, look, congratulations on 25 seasons again, and looking forward to seeing you guys all throughout the season.
And I must say, the NFL schedule release show graphics kind of a drag. I like how we look. I think they look good. Hopefully, y'all enjoyed them. We worked really hard on them all over the last couple of days, and of course, building the schedule over the last few weeks. So, thank you all for being here. For Mike St. Green, I'm Cameron Irvine. This has been the Season 25 schedule release show. Happy to bring it to you, and very excited for our upcoming season, which kicks off in Baltimore at the 2025 SFL Convention on July 10th. Everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next time.